I'm totally with you, John. Like, this was such a nice. I mean, you know, we wanted it to have that kind of playful sandbox quality, and I feel like it really did kind of come together that way, because it's just so sort of pleasant and fun and also met. It's just like looks so awesome.
One of the early kind of things we were trying to do with the game is we were kind of using a hiking metaphor for a variety of reasons, but we were just trying early on to make a game that you could enjoy where you didn't have some superpower or super speed, where you could just walk through like a normal person would when they go into nature for a hike. You could kind of go at about that speed and just enjoy the environment and live in a place. And so we had to work really hard on making that kind of environment that is just naturally enjoyable. And then we still have to make the player really fast.
Yeah, so this is the level which we realize we have to create a mechanics like surfing, because if the entire dune is just walking, it feels very repetitive. And so, you know, I think at the time I was playing Tiny Wing, the iPhone game. I remember showing it to Nick, and John was saying, you know, like, this game has a nice rhythm, there's up and downs. And, you know, if you climb a dune, you walk up, maybe, you know, when you come down, it felt differently. And so the surfing mechanics really kind of become the savior of, you know, the potential of walking through miles and miles of sand, you know, without any change of pace.
I mean, it's not maybe exactly realistic, but I do think it captures the feeling.
Definitely, we didn't go for realism with any of our kind of references to reality, the sand, whatever. We went for the feeling, and the kind of mood that we want the player to experience. And I think that is kind of a unifying concept in that game company's design.
What it is, it's going for the reality in your head when you're experiencing it. Like, this was very much modeled from our experience at Pismo Dunes, but it doesn't really reflect. None of us could surf on sand the way these characters can, but
say, yeah, you watch the footage and it's like stumbling and falling over.
One thing to note in this level, in terms of just color and design, it's interesting, is the green sky. We wanted this level to be kind of a noon atmosphere, bright, sunny, happy, but I really didn't want to have a blue sky, because I tried to save that blue color for the very end of the game to make it kind of a special reward for the end of your journey. So in order to preserve that, I chose green instead.
And I think that works really well. I mean, it keeps the world feeling very mysterious, but at the same time, this does feel very open and refreshing, and it's like a blue sky.
Yeah, it's unique.
So at some point, the game had a sandstorm where you actually have to seek for shelter in order to survive. But eventually, the sandstorm is more like become this particular area.
Yeah, that was a much better choice, because this is a built thing, you know. I feel like it speaks to the sort of subtext of the narrative and things. Then
an opportunity to talk about a little bit about the architecture of the game and how it was designed. It was also designed based on constraints from gameplay, kind of like the choice to make sky green. One funny thing is there's a lot of archways and things in the journey. Originally I wanted them to be round arches, but due to our constraints with collision detection, we needed to have arches that did not have surfaces like that, so we chose to make them these kind of stair-step arches because they work better with our tech, and that kind of influenced the entire design of the architecture.
I love when that kind of thing happens, though, where you end up at something that you actually can't imagine it any other way, but it was arrived at through dealing with constraints.
Could you imagine it any other way, Matt? I often felt pretty guilty about that, but it's amazing what Matt did, and Matt and Jack and our team with the limitations.
Yeah.
Yeah. To me, it looks like Journey. Like it's really. I mean, you know, I'm biased because. Well, I'm just biased for a whole lot of reasons, but I really can't imagine it done differently.
This definitely has influences from lots of different ancient architecture, Greek architecture, Islamic architecture.
And you
but try to
talked
make
in one of the
something
things
new.
about the Native American.
Also, yes, Native American rug design was
Yeah.
a big influence on the architecture. It's interesting. So these sequences, the ancestor shows you, were all done in one weekend. That was a late night.
One late night, extended for 58 hours.
It was definitely right up on the deadline. But I think it worked out really well.
That was, we generally don't crunch very much at that game company, but Matt, knew it had to happen right at the end, and yeah, amazingly pulled through. Yeah, pretty much the entire set of cinematics for the game.
Yeah, they to me totally work, because that was one of those that I was really sort of struggling with musically, because I was having a hard time pinning down if they felt like they were final or not. And then at one point, just like out of nowhere, suddenly there was all these things in there that were really great. It was like from one moment to the next.
Oh,
your friend.
is he
maybe,
wanting to unlock the meditation trophy with you?
Join him. Sometimes it's good to take a moment.
Oh, he
Oh
disconnected.
my goodness.
You just meditated super hard.
Well, sometimes on our life's journey, people we know will go away.
And that
Is that cancer?
Oh.
Yes, that was the cancer feature that was added to the game.
his fish is still there. How sad.
Well, now we're gonna test Nick's networking code.
Yeah, so networking.
Rock solid.
This cutscene was quite a pain. I think there is a bug here, but
Don't reveal.
Don't tell
it'll
them.
be fixed in the patch.
I swear.
That
By
was
the time you play it.
that was
So
also
in-
the first.
actually,
overt,
in general, networking, like multiplayer cutscenes, were very difficult for us to handle all of the cases of, okay, what if you start the cutscene and then 10 seconds later someone else runs in and wants to start the cutscene? What happens?
We had a very sophisticated engine system of brute force designer work.
Right.
So
Yeah, all of the networking was kind of up to the designers to make sure.
We didn't create a
worked.
situation that was impossible to network. That was cool.
And yeah, actually, speaking more of the networking, we put a lot of constraints on ourselves to fix it by design, I suppose. So like we simulated 1 second latencies at all times, so we couldn't have any design that required low latency. We also simulated lots of packet loss at all times.
Are you gonna get the symbol?
that way we could ensure that even if you connect with someone in Japan, it's still a very good experience. It's the same experience you'd have
Right.
if you're connected to your next door neighbor.
And so a lot of the initial multiplayer mechanics we tried didn't end up working out because of those networking constraints we put on ourselves.
That's a pro move right there.
You have to have played this game a few times to know the
A couple
secrets.
times.
We've played this game a few times. So this whole area is kind of an interesting design idea, because this whole level is based on this movement through the space, and
You're
that
disconnected.
it kind of makes it difficult to connect to players. However, this area, it allows you to slow down, and it's kind of like that other level we were talking about, where players traverse the same area for more time, so they have more chance of connecting to each other.
Now I
We just
wonder
demonstrated that.
if that's the same guy.
So what's his symbol? Check his name.
And this area kind of breaks up the pacing of this level, so we called it the slowdown area internally.
You can take a breath from all the excitement.
Yeah, if it was just surfing all straight through, it'd get kind of tiresome.
I think it
Different guy.
is it.
Yeah, different symbol.
No, interesting.
It's worth noting, most of the music in this game is sort of introspective and slow in various forms, but this whole level has some of the more flashy music, but it's all very solo driven.
The sand there combined with the shadow is just really impressive. I was, I look at this game hundreds, thousands of times, but just today looking at this after a while, without playing Journey, it's still so beautiful.
I can see a few things we could make a bit more beautiful here. Just had some more time. 3 years, not enough. Kidding.
That's fine with me. I never got tired of working on it, I have to say.
Oh, what's he trying?
I think he's going for the symbol, the secret.
Oh,
weapon.
maybe
You wanna
maybe you
help
can
we
me?
show
already
him.
got it.
I think we are running out of time, guys. We need to leave our friends behind.
Well,
so?
sometimes that must happen.
Well, maybe he's gonna come to
about
us.
to come up.
Could this be in the first playthrough? Can we check his cape, see if this is
It's got a
new
pretty
player?
long
He has
scar.
a huge cape.
But
You kind of gave him an extra boost there.
but his cape does not have the rim.
Yeah, he's been good at collecting symbols, but
Wait, oh, he's the same. Okay, second round.
oh, he's still gonna try to go for it.
Oh, well, it's over.
See you on the other side,
It's
buddy.
live.
I love this cue right here. Tina Guo is the cello soloist on this score, and I
Oh
just
my.
love the way she plays. And this cue in particular. This cue also has the one that everyone is insisting is an iPhone ring. Which,
I think it is.
it's not. No, I have
Genova started the rumor.
I have
That was
proof
about-
from our amazing music editor Ted Coker. He did this hilarious. He
Nice.
sent me an MP3 of a hilarious side-by-side comparison. It's just the flute playing in F sharp, and it happens to sound very similar.
Oh.
And there's apparently on the French iTunes store there were like 20 comments in a row that were like, "I swear there's a bug. They're gonna re-release. There's a bug."
Wait, so it is actually in the iTunes album?
Well, yeah, because it's the instrument. It just sounds similar, but it's not actually the iPhone thing. It's just it's like a music version of an optical illusion. It just sounds in that context sort of like it.
So speaking of optical illusions, this whole area
Doesn't exist.
is very designed to work from this camera angle in that none of these models actually have detailed texture work, and we needed to make this idea of the player going through the sunken city, but we didn't have really a lot of time to make a huge city, so I decided the best option was for us to make it backlit so that we could make it something pretty but also easier to create. And it actually became one of the more memorable moments in the game.
Well, this I think was a really good example of Matt kind of working with the constraints from the technology, where we had just added high dynamic range rendering, which allows you to do the really bright, hot sand and hot sun. And the problem with it is it required Matt to basically go and redo all of the environments throughout the entire game. And maybe he hated it, but he
Absolutely worth it.
he just made it work.
Without that, we weren't able to produce the colors that everyone wanted. So it was really great that that technology came in.
Especially for like this upcoming level where you're sort of underground, it's very important for making that look right.
Yeah, the contrast between the two. It's
maybe
really
your buddy caught
emotionally
up.
striking.
I know, a different person maybe.
Yeah, it's a different person. Their cloth is shorter.
Yeah,
So is this our third partner?
I think so.
I'm glad there are people actually playing Journey. We thought, maybe after a month the game is out, people it would be very barren, vacant in this space. But so far, it's pretty good attendance.
Well, I am still pretty interested to boot up Journey in a year or two from now, and feel like if you encounter anyone at that time,
Think how much more emotional that
Yeah.
would
Yeah,
actually
you'll wanna
make
stick
you.
together.
Actually become more powerful.
Yeah, it's like it's kind of funny how the aging of it like that will actually, I think, maybe even engender more
Yeah,
For
emotion.
sure.
During the early
Hadn't even
days,
thought of that before.
I was talking to Robin, and we were talking about what is the kind of equivalent thing of Journey as a virtual space on the internet, and we were saying this is going to be more like a theme park or like a gallery or a museum, which when the museum first opened, a lot of people would come in to check out the space and have a shared experience. But the same show could get old after a year, maybe there wouldn't be a lot of people. But if you are coming back to see the same exhibition and a year later you run into someone else, that would be a very strong, I guess, emotional experience.
You know, you share a certain connection.
Right.
Yeah,
Same
right.
kind of personality.
You know that there's a high probability you both have Journey tattoos.
Where did you guys all get yours?
There's a good place on Melrose that
Yeah.
specializes in Journey tattoos, so they do that and other.
No, I meant
skin.
like on the thigh. Yeah.
Oh, where on the body?
Yeah.
Well, this is
All right,
this is a
guys.
rated
All right.
rated E
Oh, my.
commentary.
So this is one of my favorite levels in the game, personally.
It's the first level that has a really dramatic color shift.
Right. I think it's very unexpected as well, because most people, when they see Journey, they're like, okay, it's desert, that's cool. But they're definitely not expecting to go underground or even underwater. Like some people, you know, there is sort of this mystery of, you know, is this underwater, is it underground, what is this space?
And that kind of mystery gives it a sense of, I don't know, magical quality, because and that's something that we definitely wanted to keep the player feeling, especially this moment where we are about to introduce more kind of life in the form of the cloth cup.
This is very much a sort of Alice in Wonderland, down the rabbit hole kind of moment. I mean, kind of literally you fall into this area.
Yeah.
Yeah, we haven't really talked about the hero's journey much so far. I think this is probably something the player should know.
Fist symbol.
Different player, yeah. So when we design the journey, what the player has to go through, we design it based on Joseph Campbell, who is a comparative mythologist. He wrote multiple books about what he learned between multiple religions and folk tales, and just these stories that has been passed around for thousands of years around the world, you know, from Japan to Native America. And he found that among all these stories, they have this very similar story arc, similar structure. And Journey is very much like a faithful recreation based on the structure. And like John was mentioning about Alice in Wonderland, sliding down into the rabbit hole, enter a different magical kingdom. It actually happens in a lot of the things. And George Lucas, who wrote the original Star Wars, read the book, and he actually changed the story of Star Wars to be more faithfully following the hero's journey.
Which is what made Joseph Campbell famous.
Yes.
That was
Absolutely.
when Star Wars came out and made hundreds of millions of dollars. Everyone said, well, how'd you come up with this? And he said Joseph Campbell, who was like this sort of quiet academic guy who suddenly found himself a celebrity.
One thing that the reason why we did that was we really wanted to make Journey something that resonated deeply with people of all kind of backgrounds, and so we tried to hit upon kind of a deeper emotional story arc, and so that was kind of a way for us to figure that out.
You know, I feel like that is one of the things that games can do so well. Like there's just something about kind of reaching that fundamental part of every person. I don't know, because you're interacting with it, or for whatever reason, it's just a real strength of games as a medium. And it really lends itself to doing these very kind of fundamental human emotions.
Yeah, because there's no, the extension of not so much the narrative of the hero's journey and the monomyth, but also the fact that there's no language in the game, which we haven't talked about here either yet. But
Well, that guy keeps saying fist.
So this whole area is where things start to get a little bit scary,
a
and
little dicey.
we kind of lead into that with the previous room where you actually fall through a broken floor and the music drops out, and we have these kind of statues that are lit from below in this kind of scary tone to set this eerie mood. A lot of kind of stage setting.
What do you call this
visuals.
hallway then? What was
For a long time, this hallway
hallway?
was a little too stagey, and we called it the Halloween hallway.
Right.
I've never heard of this.
Because we had a lot of flashing lights and it was a little bit over the top, but we toned it down, and I think it's serving its purpose well now. Here we see the Guardian attack this swarm of cloth creatures because we need to illustrate to the player that this is one of its abilities, and
It's bad, basically.
This is something they always talked about in Half-Life, is learn by death by proxy. So that's a technique that can work even in Journey.
Yeah, it was kind of a challenge creating these creatures because we wanted them to be very scary, but in a lot of tension. But we didn't want it to be overly frustrating. We mainly wanted you to feel like you're sneaking around and trying to hide from them, not really fighting them or getting pummeled by them. And of course, we couldn't actually kill the player, so we didn't really have, for a long time, we didn't know like what the punishment was for actually getting caught by these things. We knew we had to have some punishment, or players would just not take them seriously. And so the final thing we settled on was, well, they'll just rip off half of your flying ability, which
definitely hurts.
Yeah, it hurts a lot, and so I think that ended up working out pretty well.
That happened sort of nicely in tune with the sort of the sort of overall arc of determining the design of your cloth, your scarf, and kind of the extent to which, because originally you would gather actual cloth. I mean, like a long time ago,
Right.
You would actually pick it up, but that sort of hoarding mentality would immediately come in when players felt like they were collecting something physical.
And they would start sort of competing to hoard. Oh, you got spotted. So, yeah, even though Matt's trying to hide behind one of those other war machines.
Oh wow.